Welcome back, mamas. This week is a little bit different because we have a guest. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you might remember Cassie. She was a part of this podcast back when it was called Luna Syncrasy, and we were talking about the moon and the menstrual cycle and how our energy is always fluctuating based on those two. So I'm really excited to bring her back. We're going to be talking about PMS and perimenopause and how we don't want to be burning ourselves out. So welcome back, Cassie.
I'm excited to be here.
So the reason I wanted to bring you back is we are always talking on Boxer about just astrology in general and the themes of our hormones and how the moon is moving through different houses and what that means for us. And I remember it was back when we were doing the podcast, maybe 2 years ago, and we were talking about how the 12th house in astrology is really related to our bleeding phase. So while we have our period or just like a few days before, it's the theme there. And I think you and I have been really following that a lot. Lately, when we've been talking about this, it's been moving into perimenopause even more just because as we're getting older, rather than just having this PMS phase, it's more ongoing.
One of my favorite things to do with you on Boxer is to talk about all these different astrological theories and to apply it in our lives. And we've been able to watch it, like you said, for so long. It's fascinating. And we come up with some pretty amazing theories that I think could be really helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah. And so we've been talking about the 12th house. What we've recently discovered is how much that has to do with the 6th house and how our healing place, how we can make ourselves feel better is more on that 6th house side. Whereas the 12th house is how we feel, how we are, how things are happening, and we don't really have any control. But then we can move to the 6th house side, and that's more of what we can do to make ourselves feel better. You were just telling me a story this morning about how you were feeling because you're right there feeling the PMS. So tell me a little bit about how you've experienced this.
Yeah, it's so interesting because when you and I were in astrology school, I am a person who has really struggled with the premenstrual and luteal phase for much of the last decade. And when we were in astrology school, the conversation around the 6th house made me look at my own chart and go, that's really interesting because I have the moon in my 6th house and Saturn and Pluto conjunct in my 6th house. And I looked at that and thought, wow, that seems to be indicative of something. And you and I have had many conversations about that part of it.
So just like for people who don't really know astrology too,
yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah.
Like Saturn and Pluto and plus your emotions in the moon. These are very intense planets too. So Cassie has a lot going on in her 6th house.
And the 6th house being the part of your chart that rules your daily habits, your health, your rituals, your routines. And so to have that much energy in my 6th house has been something I've been really working on ever since I started to understand astrology. It's something I'm really intentional about. But the 6th house has medicine for everyone, regardless of whether or not you have planets there, but especially important if you have even one planet in the 6th house to focus on your health that way through your rituals and routines. But later, after that whole 6th house kind of awareness, you told me that your luteal menstrual phase, and this is based on the idea that females have moon, like their menstrual cycles are the same as the moon. And they're very much in line. And I know you probably talked about that a ton on this podcast, but the idea that your late luteal phase and your menstrual phase takes place in the 12th house. Like if we got rid of all the other influences, the 12th house is the place of menstruation. And in our experience, late luteal.
Yeah. So right now you're in that. And what is in your 12th house?
My 12th house is ruled by Aries, which is very much my lived experience. It was a mind-blowing realization when you told me about that, because things like anger, agitation, an urgent need to be alone, being really irritated, This is not all Aries. I don't want to low road Aries here. I'm just saying I low road Aries when I'm in my premenstrual phase. Aries has amazing qualities, but there's a lot of frustration and a lot of like fire, I guess. That's what we'll call it when I am in that phase of my cycle.
And I
What
think that
about
was
you?
a good point that you brought up, that it's the low road, because I feel like that's all of the signs. And they all have low road, high road. But when we're in that phase, we're showing those low road qualities.
Yeah,
We're not saying that these things are bad. You are,
not at
but
all.
those traits are coming out when we're in them. And so Cassie's telling me about all of these Aries things. And I was like, oh, what's mine? I'm Virgo. Okay. So the low road Virgo would be very nitpicky. Everything has to be perfect, just like the perfectionism. And it's really funny. As we were having this conversation, suddenly my husband told me, like, wow, I can't do anything right with you right now. Yeah, that makes, and because it really is just, you can't do it exactly the way I want you to right now. Okay, I guess I'll just go do it myself because nobody can do it as good as me. And I was bringing in those exact Virgo traits. And so this is when we were realizing this is real and there's something here too.
There's also the Virgo part of you that is really paying attention to your cycle and tracking things like your HRV, and you have all these graphs and you understand your cycle. That's very Virgo. Every detail and like physical experience of your cycle, especially at the luteal phase, that feels very Virgo too.
It's funny because that's the way I have to manage it. It's just like I have to watch it and understand it and bring health into it. So if somebody went and they looked up their chart and they looked up towards the left side, a little bit above like that line on the left, there's a number that says 12. So whatever sign is there in the 12th house, you came up with some ideas of how people might be experiencing late luteal, early menstrual, so PMS type symptoms.
Yeah.
Do you want to go through those?
Sure. And chime in, obviously, because you know these all really well too. So Aries, we talked about, that's where I get to be. It's very much like there's the fire and there's like I have to do stuff. I have to be productive. I have to start something. I can't just lay around, which is the opposite of what your body needs. It's like you got to move, and that's counterintuitive. It can be. I think that might be true for a lot of fire signs. We'll have to go through them. But Taurus would be craving solitude, needing comfort, maybe just wanting to pull back, right? Like to emotionally shut down or like resist change, maybe even comfort food. Like those are very Taurus things.
I like with a really cozy, comfy blanket, like laying on the couch with some candles and not wanting to do anything other than
totally. Just like numb out, check out, sensory indulgence, like Netflix, if we're being very stereotypical of it. But yeah, that actually does align with the biology in some ways, right? Like you need more food when you're in your late luteal phase and you need to slow down.
For sure.
And then Gemini in your 12th house, this could be like a lot of mind racing, scattered thoughts, anxiety, restlessness. I would imagine sleep could be pretty tricky if you had a Gemini rule 12th house. And also maybe going into your mind and being very active in your mind about things that possibly could never happen, but could.
Yeah. And I mean, premenstrual anxiety is definitely a real thing. I would be curious if that happens more often, if they have an air sign in their 12th house, just because you have these constant thoughts all of the time.
Yeah. That one can be tricky. And then Cancer, again, this one just feels like, yeah, no, that's on brand. Retreating emotionally, again, craving just like comfort and being around people you love, feeling overly sensitive, maybe withdrawn, like just wanting to be home. Moodiness, nostalgia, that could be another one. I think of myself as a Cancer sun. Sometimes I scroll through old photos and just sob. That's the kind of 12 house. Like it's just, you got to be so deep in your feelings that it's almost like torture.
It really is. I'm just hearing like emotional overwhelm. Let me just have all the emotions just come over me. And like I've heard of people like, I like to call them emotional beanbags, but like where you just get yourself into that state. Where do you feel it in your body? And then just feel it until it finally goes away. Just to release a lot of those over emotions, because it's going to come up so easily.
Absolutely. And then if you scale all of the signs back into an elemental kind of place, like water signs in the 12th house feel like, okay, that's what you're supposed to do in this situation. Earth signs too. Like, it's just, I'm going to take care of my need. Whereas fire feels counterintuitive and air feels like a lot of thoughts and anxiety. If we were to just generalize the element.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have a Leo rule 12, you have a friend. Do you want to share that story or not? Because I think that's so funny.
Yeah. So once I was realizing that me and Cassie had this happening, I started talking to some of my friends and looking at their charts. And I asked one of my friends how she experiences her PMS. And she said that she just feels like she's doing everything and she's trying to get her family to help her, whether it's her kids or her husband. And just, guys, look at what I'm doing. I'm doing all of this stuff and nobody is helping me. And so when I pulled up her chart and saw that she had a Leo ruled 12th house, it made a ton of sense, because Leo really is like, hey, look at me. Like, I want attention. Yeah. I'm the lion. Hear me roar. And so, yeah, it totally makes sense.
Like that luteal faith can bring up this like longing for validation and appreciation and recognition. And also feelings of unworthiness, or am I invisible? Does nobody see all the things I do? That feels very Leo.
And it's just like at that point when you have PMS, it's like the emotions are running wild and like, finally, I need some of that validation.
And I really appreciate your luteal phase for bringing things so front and center. Normally we repress it. And I really have learned to appreciate that. No, this is literally how I feel right now. It's like an important part of being a strong person, I think, and knowing yourself.
And it's the only way to improve your life, really. So we can suppress it and keep it down for the rest of the cycle. And then all of a sudden it all boils up. And these are the things that we want to get past. I appreciate what you're saying, is that these are not necessarily bad things.
I just love the idea that your menstrual cycle brings out the real you, and that's where your power is. And so I'm such a fan of that idea.
Maybe that's actually why when you're in perimenopause, it's the same thing, because it's like midlife crisis. So now I'm becoming the real me for a longer period of time. It's not just these 5 days before I get my period. It's like a much more extended amount. And so we really are just like letting it all out. Anything that I've been suppressing for most of my life, it's going to come out now.
Totally. And that's been such a fun conversation for us lately, is what if your whole menstruating life, you have this 3, 4, 5 day period of this 12th house energy and really embodying it. And then by the time you get to your perimenopausal phase, it's just full-fledged. You just live there permanently, which again is super empowering if you think about it. I have shamed my Aries 12th house and like, what's wrong with me for a long time. And now I'm like, nothing's wrong with me. I am just asserting myself and my needs very clearly, and I will not stop. I will never stop for as long as I live.
For sure.
Okay, if we move on to Virgo, which I think you have anything else to add to your Virgo?
We were talking about the perfectionism, the being very hypercritical of other people, and then it really is just keeping track of everything, thinking so much about my health. It really is so much about my health. And it's like how we've bonded over this.
And your inner critic might get loud, but also you're very sensitive to others' needs or anything perceived to be wrong with you in that moment or in your body.
Yeah. And I'm going to criticize you before you can criticize me.
Yes, it's protective.
Totally.
Virgo. So 12th house Libra. This could look like hiding your needs to keep the peace, like repressing things a little bit and over analyzing the harmony of the people around you, but also becoming secretly resentful or emotionally off-center as a result of doing that. I see it as being like pouring everything into other people, possibly you get even more heightened like indecision tendencies or people pleasing. Like you just overcompensate your own emotions by putting all of your energy toward other people.
The mind too, since it is an air sign. Oh my gosh, what are they thinking about this? Oh my gosh, they're going to be mad at me if I don't do this. And really overthinking it in terms of the people pleasing. And so you're probably going to do it even more just because your mind is racing over it.
The challenge is allowing yourself to just feel your own feelings, probably, if your 12th house is ruled by Libra.
Yeah.
And that's like what you're designed to do during that time. Scorpio, another water sign, intense emotions coming to the surface. Again, feeling very on brand for the luteal phase. Think just grief and old wounds coming up. I wonder if jealousy is a thing that comes up when you've got a Scorpio ruled 12th house. I would imagine being really closed off too. Like just, nope, nobody gets in. And feeling maybe overwhelmed by the things you can't control. Scorpio loves control, like feeling, oh, like, why does my body do this to me? Kind of things. Like, you can't control your biology. Not really.
Yeah.
For Sagittarius in the 12th house, do you feel caged? Do you feel like your spirit is like, why am I stuck here in this perpetual thing every day? Do you want to start asking yourself existential questions? Do you have really big feelings, or do you spin on why things are the way they are? Your thoughts on Sagittarius, that one?
I was kind of thinking as you were talking, it's a lot like Leo, but maybe a little bit less personal. So it's more of I need to get out of here. I need to change my life completely. Like I just feel totally caged in.
Yeah.
But just really
I want to break
down.
Free.
Yes. I think it's going to be
the mundane is done.
Yeah. A lot of big feelings. I just see them just like breaking out of this cage and running away, like trying to get as far away from their typical life as possible.
And maybe they get like cuttingly honest, like truth hurts kind of words come out from one fire sign to another. The words can be potent if you've got a fire ruled luteal phase. For Capricorn, I think of repressing emotions, feeling heavy or burdened, or like feelings of I'm not doing enough. Guilt around control, like what you can control and what you can't. Guilt around what you've accomplished and what you've not. I just think that you could be really hard on yourself if you've got a Capricorn 12th house in the phase where you're supposed to be slowing down.
It seems like it would be really hard to slow down at a point just because I haven't finished what I planned to finish this cycle, like especially if you're using cycle syncing and you are somebody who plans things. Like I didn't finish, so now I have to sit down and just finish it because Capricorn can do that at that point. Like they're going to take out the emotions. I can't deal with this right now, even though things are going to come up.
Yeah.
They're just going to stop it down.
Yeah. And probably even go harder on the things they have to accomplish, which feels good, but also counter to what your body's asking you to do.
Right.
But again, maybe that's helpful that you can push through. I always think of Capricorn as being such a masculine sign. So it's, do you just push through? Like you don't have a cycle because you have the, Or
I feel like you would feel the stress of it though. As Capricorn in the 12th house, it really is more of a, I need to do this, but you feel so stressed out by it that really what you should be doing is feeling the emotion.
Yeah. For Aquarius, you may detach emotionally or feel like one thing that I think could come up is I don't belong or I don't fit in or I'm different from everybody else. Nobody gets me. Even like your mood can shift. Normally, I feel like Aquarius is very detached from their emotions and they're not necessarily moody, but like that would feel very different during that phase of your cycle, or just maybe more of a need to just isolate.
You think isolate? Because what I was thinking was Aquarius is very much about community as well. So it's like, do you actually want to get out more, go out with your friends or just be with your people? Maybe not with everybody, but The people who are your people is maybe just like reaching out to a friend, reaching out to the people you feel safest with. And maybe
Yeah,
that
that makes
is,
sense.
yeah.
I feel like Aquarius is so nuanced because it's no, I don't want to talk about my deep feelings, so I don't want to talk at all. But you're right. They might go out and socialize and avoid that topic or talk about something else or talk about something bigger or something more important than where they are at emotionally. Yeah, I think that's a two things can be true situation depending on the person. I would love to talk to someone who's an Aquarius 12th house because I'd be really curious how that shows up again. Aquarius is it's very its own thing all the time. So they wouldn't want to be put in a category anyway. If you were 12th house Aquarius, you've already turned this podcast off. Nope, I will not be labeled. Don't talk to me like you know me. So Pisces 12th house is like Pisces rules the 12th house. So you just go into this dreamy, spacey, emotional place that your luteal phase asks you to go to. What I do think could happen is that boundaries become difficult, emotional exhaustion can take over, almost feeling hopeless. Like you could just get so far into the deep water during this phase of your cycle that it's just like, I am exhausted and I am checking out from the world. I imagine if you have a Pisces rule 12th house, you can just retreat.
Yeah, and I can almost see them almost floating away, like not being able to focus on anything. If you have something you have to do, your mind is like way out here and it's not focusing on that thing. And so it's just, can you allow that? Can you allow yourself to do that sometimes?
Yeah. Permission to not be productive at all.
Yeah. But the thing that we have been alluding to with all of this is that this might be just what's happening to you. It's not really something that you can control. And so how is that helpful to you? It's probably not. And so that's where that 6th house opposition comes in. And yeah, we've alluded to it a few times, just like when Cassie was talking about her 6th house and how she has so many planets there and how that's related to our health and our habits and just like our daily routine. So to go along with all of these things in the 12th house for each sign, you can also look at your 6th house, and that is where we get the answer. It's what we can do about how we're feeling. And it really is, it's always going to be the opposite sign.
That's one of the things that I love most about astrology. If you don't know what to do with a part of your chart, like the 12th house, for example, because it's hard to put into words part of your chart, you go to the 6th. Just like you can, if you're not sure what to do with your 10th house and your career, you can go to your 4th and there's answers there for you. All of the signs have this polarity that really helps them work together. And you have a little part of your opposite sign in you. If you're a Gemini, you've got some Sagittarius in you. Like the polarities and the opposite signs in astrology are really relevant. So this was a sort of mind-blowing revelation that I feel like we've been talking at length about for so long. So we've talked about the symptoms or how it might show up based on your 12th house, but the 6th house is the medicine. It's where you go to take care of yourself. And this was just like a mind-blowing revelation for me when I started thinking about my 12th house. Why do I become so irritable and impatient and frustrated without really knowing why? But at the same time, I also experienced this overwhelming desire to clean and beautify my home and like perfect things. And my 6th house is ruled by Libra, because Aries and Libra are opposite. And without knowing this astrology piece of it for so long, I was this person that when I was in my luteal phase and premenstrual, I would become just crazy about cleaning my house, organizing, like making it look beautiful, like to the point of being obsessive. And I remember one time my mom was like, just genuinely asking, not judgment at all, like, why do you care so much? And I was like, I don't know, but I do. Like, I feel better in my body when I am cleaning or organizing or doing something in my home. And now I'm a Cancer, so obviously my home is a really big part of that. And so I had this combination of anger, rage, everybody leave me alone. And also, I want to clean the house. I want to be here by myself. And I think one of the reasons why I had such a hard time with my menstrual cycle, especially in my 30s after having kids, was because that's actually impossible. That the medicine for me is to play some music, clean my house, organize things, like make it feel and look immaculate. And that I could no longer do when I had kids, because the other part of when you are premenstrual and you start pushing people away, your kids get more clingy. They are like, where are you going? And so I think that's why I got diagnosed with PMDD. Like I really struggled. And now in hindsight, it's like, that's normal for me. There's nothing wrong with me, that I really like to do that in my house. And now I can be like to my husband, please just go somewhere for a day. Just give me alone time in my house, because it's impossible to do this by this Aries 12 house. It's impossible to do it when they're here. No, I have to be alone. It has to happen when I'm alone. It was such a cool realization. And I want to say to so many people, is your premenstrual thing, especially people who have PMDD, are you sure that you're not just not getting your needs met? I'm not going to dismiss PMDD. That's a very real thing. But there is so much, again, medicine in understanding your sixth house and being like, no, that's literally how I'm built. That's how I'm made. That's how I'm designed. That regulates. Cleaning and organizing regulates me.
And when you lean into it, everything just feels so much easier.
Yeah. Like even saying it, like, oh, there's so much relief in that. But yeah, so that's one example of the sixth house. So if your 12th house is ruled by Taurus, then your sixth house is Scorpio. So the medicine for that would be getting really honest about what's inside. Like things like journaling, therapy, also like physical movement to release stuck energy could be really good for that. And also just to cut out things that aren't serving you, that you're like juggling or affecting you emotionally. I think that your luteal phase can really illuminate those things for you. Your sixth house is ruled by Scorpio. You know what you need to do on a pretty deep level for your own rituals and routines and how you structure your days and like what doesn't fit. Paying really close attention to that could be really helpful.
Yeah, I really like the practice of feeling those emotions. The emotions are going to come up. And maybe as you feel like being on the couch with your blanket, it really is like, how am I feeling? What is coming up for me? And can you really just feel into it? Allow yourself to cry, allow it all to come out. Even some of the anger, can you just do like a rage cry almost of just so much intensity, so much emotion that's like building up? That if you let it out, I feel like it's really going to help.
Yeah. Like maybe the medicine is to not check out with Netflix or something else, but to actually feel things.
Right.
Like the Taurus part of it would want to just watch this. I'm going to forget about it. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to do these things. But it's what if I don't for just 10 minutes? What if I really think about what is coming up for me? What if I really process it? If you have a Gemini ruled 12th house, then your sixth house is Sagittarius. So the medicine for an active mind is to move your body. It's to go for walks. It's to go for hikes. Maybe it's just dancing around your living room. I would think like a change of scenery or maybe taking a class, learning something could be a really good medicine for you. Maybe you plan a trip. Maybe you start thinking about where you want to go. Whatever you can do to get out of your mind and into your body or into something could feel good. What are your thoughts on Gemini?
No, I loved all those things. A change of scenery, doing something you've never done before. I could even see like maybe taking a new workout class. There's something about letting that mental energy out by moving your body. And I really like the idea of planning a trip too. So that's an outlet again for that mental energy of what do I want to do? Where am I going to go? What are we going to do?
Yeah, totally. So Cancer ruled 12th house. That means your sixth house is ruled by Capricorn. So that's your medicine. So this is really just like using structure to create emotional safety, being really disciplined around your routines, eating nourishing foods, quiet time alone. I would think that if you have a Cancer ruled 12th house, your rituals and routines around your luteal phase are going to be really important. Maybe you take extremely good care of yourself. Like you have some non-negotiables that you have to do. I don't drink coffee. I don't do these things that are going to make PMS more difficult for me. I'm like coming out with the rules for Capricorn 6th house. I think it's like you don't want to abandon your responsibilities when you're in this part of your cycle, but do soften them. Be a little easier on yourself. Give yourself permission to not do as many responsibilities. And maybe that's where they'll set some rules for yourself. Like, you only have to do this many things instead of all the things.
Yeah.
Your daily habits and rituals and routines are probably really strong if you have a Capricorn 6th house. You're probably really good at life already. Just would imagine.
You probably have this really nice daily routine, and then you can almost just know when I'm feeling like this, when I get to this phase, this is how I change it. So I have this daily routine and then this one, and then you can kind of switch between the two. And that's probably going to be really easy.
I love that for you. I'm a little jealous. So if you have a Leo ruled 12th house, then your 6th house is ruled by Aquarius. So giving yourself space, and I feel like it's really a lot about prioritizing your rhythms without trying to impress anyone. Like, you got to do you and what feels good to you. I keep thinking like all the recommendations for things that you should do when you're at your Leo phase are like, no, I'm not going to do those again. But do something for you that reminds you of what a visionary you are. I always think of that part of your cycle, like even menstruation, like so many insights come during that part of your cycle. Like, it's such a spiritual experience if you slow down enough to listen. And I would think, as an Aquarius, like a lot of really incredible world problem solving ideas could come up for you during this time. Like, just being a visionary, having these really good ideas about helping people could come up and be really powerful at that time.
For me, it's like when I'm thinking about my friend who I mentioned. So hers is Leo. And so it's, look at all the stuff that I'm doing. Look at all of this. There's a piece of it where it really is about detaching. So instead of just being like, look at all these things I'm doing, I need your help. It's like falling back and just letting them do things for you. So relying on your community, relying on other people, and you taking it off of your plate and allowing other people to do it, I think would be really helpful too.
You don't have to solve everyone's problems all at once.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be all you.
Yeah. If your 12th house is ruled by Virgo, then your 6th house is Pisces. This is you again. So turning things like meditation, art, rest, that's your medicine.
Yeah. And honestly, as I think about this, it's really why I'm so passionate about the being doing scale and how you can go from burnt out to balanced to very almost floaty where you're not getting anything done. Like, this is my passion. And I think it has so much to do with this axis for me, because when I think about myself, I can so easily fall into that Virgo and fall into constantly wanting to do, constantly wanting everything to be perfect. But going back into Pisces and thinking about meditation and just slowing down and relaxing, that's what heals me. It really just totally balances everything out.
Like, trusting your intuition and allowing messiness is part of your healing.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. Okay. If your 12th house is ruled by Libra, then your 6th house is Aries. So again, moving your body, like all that energy, naming your needs, taking care of you, prioritizing you. I think walks, like quick solo walks by yourself, will help you reconnect with your power if you have an Aries rule.
Yeah. And when you say that, I mean, it makes so much sense because we're talking about overthinking what other people want. And the medicine really is, don't care about what those other people want. It's, what do you want right now? And it's only a couple days a month. It's not like you're going to become this super selfish person, but really right now, what do you need? And just do that for yourself.
Like, your permission is to choose you and to put your needs first.
Yeah.
If your 12th house is ruled by Scorpio, then your 6th house is Taurus. So I just think of like sensory rituals, weighted blankets, warm foods, baths. If you have a Scorpio ruled 12th house and your emotions are bubbling up, give yourself permission to calm your nervous system, to come back to the basics, simplify your life, and just find medicine and just slowing down.
It's like getting out of your head and into your body. So instead of overthinking and over emotional processing, it's just get back in your body. Maybe this one really is the one that should be on the couch watching Netflix and just zoning out. And it but
Yeah.
being comfortable and feeling good in your body while you do it.
Yeah. Like you deserve a special blanket when you're in yoga. Like one that only comes out then. That's only yours and nobody can touch it. And a great show. And then for a 12th house by Sagittarius, then your 6th house is Gemini. So I would think keep things kind of light. You find you're going to want to talk, probably journal, listen to a podcast, laughing with a friend, talking to someone is going to feel like medicine for you. Just let yourself be curious and flexible and don't require yourself to have all of the answers. You don't have to solve all of the world's problems when you're bleeding.
As a Gemini, I have found that breath work is really good for me too. This is probably true for all of the air signs, but just like doing breath work and allowing things to flow through you that way, where like instead of having to use your mind all of the time. So that would be something good for anybody with Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius on the 6th to do more frequently.
Yeah. If your 12th house is ruled by Capricorn, then your 6th is Cancer. So this is just like caring for yourself. Like you deserve to be cared for, like nurturing your body, warm foods, permission to feel things. Rest is actually really productive for you. Give yourself a couple of days out of the month to just focus on you and what you actually need.
Do you think that it would be good to be a caregiver at that time too? Like when I think of Cancer, it really is a mom. So maybe really focusing a little bit more on your kids instead of your job or the outside world, but just really taking the time to be a caregiver might feel good for these people.
Yeah, I love that. It's natural for you to focus on your goals and what you're producing and what you're contributing and how you're making an impact. But for you to give yourself permission in that phase of your cycle to be like, no, I'm going to make donuts for my kids and I'm going to play games with them and I'm going to just be present with them. Yeah, really good medicine. Just permission to not be producing all the time. Okay, 2 left. If you have an Aquarius ruled 12th house, then your 6th house is Leo. So I would think the medicine is doing something fun or creative. Maybe it's something with your style, or maybe it's painting or playing something. Just letting yourself shine and be totally authentic, or doing things that feel really self-affirming, like things that make you you. Maybe it's a hobby that you're like really into that you give yourself permission to do.
For some reason, I'm just like seeing somebody on a stage too. This is the time to shine. Like it may not feel like it, and you may want to be more detached, but there's a piece of it. It goes along with seeing friends. We were talking about that for Aquarius in the 12th house, where it's, I want to be with friends. I want to be seen. And maybe that's part of the medicine, is being seen for who you are.
And I think the part of you that doesn't have to be showy, like it doesn't have to be performative. It just is, this is who I am. This is the real me, the authentic one. This could be like you are giving the performance of your life while driving in your car. Like maybe you are belting out the song that you love. If your 12th house is ruled by Pisces, then your 6th house is Virgo. So this would be just like tending to the little things, like cleaning your space, making your checklist for when you come out of your menstrual cycle, organization of your environment and also your body. Things like decluttering brings clarity to your mind. If your 12th house is Pisces, then you're very dreamy and imaginative, but like doing the things that help you feel productive and organized will pull you out of going too deep into the water, maybe.
Yeah, and it almost feels like it's difficult to do a lot of this. So I liked what you said about making a to-do list. You don't have to do anything yet. Your mind might still be a little floaty. You just feel a little floaty. But you can make a list for what I'm going to do next and stop worrying about it. You don't have to say like, why am I not getting these things done? Just make the list and you can do it later. And the decluttering, like that's not going to take a lot of mental power. So
True.
You can just get that done, make yourself feel good while your mind is out here.
Yeah. And prioritizing just your health and how you're feeling in your body is also very Virgo in the 6th house. It's just like listening to what your body's telling you and paying attention to what it needs. Sometimes it might need a walk. Sometimes it might need to organize the silverware drawer. But your body will tell you for sure.
Yeah. Wow. I can't believe we went this long talking about all of the different signs. Okay, so thinking about the size of our 12th house besides the signs, you might notice that some of your houses are a little bit smaller than others, whereas others can be a bit larger. And so I know that something Cassie and I have noticed is that my 12th house is actually quite small and hers is, it's ginormous. It's almost two signs.
It's 28 degrees of Aries and 22 degrees of Taurus, which is another reason why I was like, this seems unfair. This seems like, why is my PMS so awful? But I think there is something to that too. I spend a lot of time in my 12th house when the moon is moving through there, when the sun is moving through there. So that medicine piece of the 6th house is really important to me. And because I have so many planets in my 6th house, my daily rituals and my habits and my routines are really important to me. If I don't do them, I come fully unglued. So I just think our birth chart offers so much insight into how we can take care of ourselves and how we move through the world and what we can do to honor our own needs, which is so much what you talk about with menstrual cycles, energy, and your rhythm.
Yeah.
Your flow through life.
And yeah, so that we can have it just be like this large house, or maybe it's about 30 degrees. But it would be interesting to me to hear from people. So when you pull up your chart and you're looking at the cusp, first of all, I want to know if you can relate to what your PMS is and if this medicine makes sense. But also then the size of the house. Does it relate to how long your cycle lasts or how long your period lasts, how long your PMS lasts? Like, for me, it is a very short period of time, honestly, and it makes sense with a smaller 12th house. And then where Cassie has noticed it lasting a week or so, right? Like a bit longer.
And I remember when I was at the doctor, like 8 years ago now, and we were discussing my PMDD, I remember telling her, it feels like I have 2 weeks that are really good and 2 weeks that are really not. Like someone turned off the lights and she was like, Cassie, that's half your life. And I didn't put that together, but that's very dramatic and very me of me. But, and because it probably wasn't a full 2 weeks, but it does feel like I experience it longer than the 3 or 4 days leading up to your period. But for me, it seems to start if I don't go to acupuncture, if I don't eat healthy, if I don't cut coffee, if I don't do all these things that my success requires me to do, then it does start a full almost week and a half before I even get my period. So there could be something to that. Again, all just theory, but my lived experience for sure.
Yeah. And I would just love to know, like, what relates to your chart, what you can see. It would be really interesting to get some more data points. But we are just so excited about how this works out so perfectly for us. And we're
The
always
Gemini
doing
Virgo
astrology.
would like more data points. So please
Yes,
send them
yes,
to her.
that's true. Please give me data. But yeah, thank you so much, Cassie. This has been awesome.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Yay.